What is up, DTube Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk about something that I never talked about before, especially not this topic exactly, but because I usually talk a lot about topics that are around Steam or this general ecosystem. But today I want to talk a little bit about, because I'm very interested in the process of life. And of course, I think that's something that actually everyone is sort of interested in, because it's kind of cool. Like, you can search on YouTube cool videos talking about life and kind of looking into maybe human history, stuff that has happened, and all of this. And of course, it is very, very interesting. And what is interesting about life, because human is life and everything around sort of is life as well, is this sort of how life push forward. That there is some form of there is something in, let's say, nature, or something that you just want to keep push stuff sort of forward. And I find that super fascinating, because if you look at, for example, old videos on YouTube, go look at videos from 100 years ago, and you can see how people were, and it's just very interesting, I find, because people are so different, and you can see everything, like how humans are communicating with each other on those early videos, how they sort of looks at the world when they're being interviewed, and also if a person has sort of traveled to different countries, as I have traveled to a few countries, you sort of see how intelligence works, how it's so different in different regions, when you see different people and stuff like that. And it's just interesting to see how intelligence can take on so many forms, and that there is this thing in life that it wants to push forward, which is kind of interesting, and that there is always something new around the corner. Because you have this thing also that each generation sort of wants to have their own kind of experience, and they want to explore their own sort of things. Many times they don't want to do the same thing as their parents. That's why you get these different generations, that where some things just get caught on, and some things that generation sort of finds boring. And I was watching this video. So life, first we have this aspect of life that it wants to push forward, and then we do have how interesting time period this is. So around 10 years, or call it, oh yeah, it's actually around 10 years, we got these really cool high-end smartphones. We are around 10 years into that, and the next 10 to 15 years are so interesting, because it is, as humans have a evolutionary choice here, where humans actually can decide if they want to evolve more consciously, using more consciousness, or if they're sort of going to go back and almost devolve. And humans sort of have this in their hands, basically. Like, the next 10 to 15 years is it's going to be such an interesting time period, because this is the time period where people are going to have so good technology that if they want to, like, go with the way life wants to sort of push forward, then like this is the time where they should really be the most excellent. And that there's also now this window, which is probably going to be the next 10 to 15 years, where people still going to use, let's say, social media. They're sort of going to be on these platforms. They're going to explore new technology and stuff like that. But after that time period, they may not be on these systems, because they may just have their own sort of AI that is doing things. So you have this sort of time period where you can just give people the best access to the best information, and that after this period of social media, then this may never exist in the future, because people might just talk to an AI. So you have this social media period now, and I know that a lot of people say it's super bad, but it really is about how you use it. So people can use it to find new people, contact people, and sort of try to do stuff. So sort of trying to be a part of a solution, or they can use it to just use it for entertainment and not sort of trying to be part of, let's say, a solution and trying to move stuff forward. So the next 10 to 15 years, humans really do have a choice of where they want to take things. If they want to go with life, sort of push forward, or if they sort of want to have like, maybe they start to have like less dreams, smaller goals, because that can also be a thing that is happening. That people, I see a lot of people that many are negative for no real reason, and it's as they're not aware that they're sort of, that a human is sort of generating their own sort of emotions, their own feelings, their own thoughts. It's a person's own sort of things that they're sort of creating, and many people seem to sort of enjoy their own sort of creation, their own sort of suffering that some people seems to enjoy. And while actually, if you're looking at it, they would be able to create a more pleasant experience. So it's going to be interesting to see where sort of humans take this, because I see both. I see both people that are trying to do more and more amazing things. They're doing bigger things, but then you also see a lot of people that has a lot of cool things they can do, but that they are very, very passive, that they seems to be doing less, and you don't really know exactly why they sort of have smaller dreams or smaller goals or things like that. I think it's one of the main reasons is probably because with the sort of smartphone and stuff like that, it seems as it gives you everything, that you know everything, that you saw something in the smartphone and now you know everything about life. And I think that is a trap that a lot of people sort of may fall into. But humans really will have, like, this is really an interesting time. Next 10 to 15 years, when social media still will be here, this is really when they have, it's like the best time period to sort of increase awareness for a lot of these cool new technologies that is coming out with all this blockchain and technology stuff. I was remembering in 2017, I really had a strong desire for some kind of technology like this, because I sort of felt like, well, if we don't have a more better technology, it's almost going to be impossible to sort of talk to people and sort of transfer value and stuff like that. And then I found the Steam blockchain early 2018, or my friend told me about it, and it was like, oh my god, this is really exactly what I was sort of looking for, and that was kind of cool. So it's going to be interesting, really interesting to see how it's going to play out, basically. And a lot of people probably will what they're looking at, how things may play out, they're probably going to be very, very wrong, because I see so many people that are looking at it super extremely linear. They're looking at it like, oh, in 20 years you're still gonna go to the same work, you're still gonna do the same thing. But we that are super close to this technology, we see how fast it goes, and we see that it's going to change way quicker. That almost as time is going to go faster the next couple of years. I also saw this very interesting video that kind of ties this video together. where it was a very smart person that I highly respect and that I've seen worked for over decades with doing cool things, and he seems pretty intelligent, seems very sensible. And basically what he said was that this is the 84th happening of creation. And I found that pretty interesting because we don't know how long a happening would be, but let's say this then is the 84th happening of a creation. And he also said it would go up to 112 creations, and then it would be a continuous creation after that. But okay, so I was thinking about that. Okay, so 84, it is the 84th happening. Okay, let's kind of look at that. Okay, so 84, where have I heard that before? And then I was considering, oh, you do have this book called, I think it is 1984, maybe 1985, but at least pretty close to that, where if that is this happening, and let's say that this book is sort of connected to that number, then we might actually be in this very special time period, especially the next 10 to 15 years, where people either that I think that book is basically about controlling someone's thoughts, and that it's sort of that might actually mean that we are sort of in this time period where people basically have this decision if they sort of want to think for themselves or if they want some other thing to sort of think for themselves, and that this may very well play out, can probably play out in both ways. Where, for example, if a person, let's say a person believes that some kind of machine or something like that can think for you, then that might become a self-fulfilling prophecy, where if you actually believe that the machine can think and it can do all of your stuff and you can think your own thoughts and stuff like that, then it might actually manifest as like a creation where it's like, okay, this person cannot think, you will have this robot think for you. While if a person, let's say, they just looks at it and be like, okay, wait a sec, this is just my own thoughts, I can make up whatever thoughts I want, and it's just my creation. So if that is this time period, and we don't know how long this time period will last, but it looks pretty interesting in terms of timing, that the next 10, 20 years, there's probably going to be, and we already see that right now, we see a lot of people that has interesting ideas, or people that sort of are thinking and sort of putting a lot of stuff out there, and we see that is a lot of play in creation right now, especially in this sort of timeline, that people cannot really stop thinking. Like when they start to think, they sort of want to do it more. And you sort of see this struggle going on between different ideas, and it really seems like it would be in this timeline, that this is like a timeline, or this is happening right now, where people are sort of looking at this a lot, that in the past they didn't think that much for themselves. They had someone else to sort of think for them, and that this is a time period where people are really starting to look, and they're really starting to explore all aspects of life, and they're really starting to consider everything all over again. And it seems like it actually might be that is really what we're gonna sort of live out the next 10, 20 years here. And then maybe you get the 85th creation or 85th happening, where humans are probably going to eventually move to the next phase, where they're not going to be so identified with their thoughts or even their emotions. Because I also heard this, that emotions are just a juicier version of your thoughts. That eventually people probably then will evolve and being pushed with life, as life is pushing forward, going to move to the next phase, where they're just going to see it as a very tiny aspect, that the thoughts and the emotions that they have. They're not going to look at it as, oh, someone can control the thoughts, or they're not really going to buy into that idea. And then you sort of have that people sort of exploring other dimensions of life, and it really seems like that could be the 85th happening, and that would probably maybe be then maybe after 2040 or 2050 or something like that. So a lot of people probably will experience that, which is kind of cool, because then you're probably just gonna have a small little device, or maybe not even that. Yeah, well, you're probably gonna have some form of device that can sort of, you're probably gonna look at it as, well, I don't need any thoughts. Like, this little device can do the thoughts. Because everything in terms of thoughts are probably already going to be explored so well by an AI that is probably going to be more engaging. If you just want to explore different thoughts and ideas, it's probably going to be more than engaging to talk to, let's say, an AI. But if you want to talk to a human, then you sort of want to experience the human. You're not really that interested in some psychological drama that maybe they have gathered from the world. So maybe then it would shift, so people instead, when they're meeting other people, that they're seeing the person, they're seeing the human being, and they're there to experience that above their small gatherings of ideas and thoughts and emotions. So that would, of course, if that would happen, that would be very, very interesting, because then it becomes quite cool. It becomes like a human heart planet. If you take Earth and you split or you rearrange the letters, you get heart. Okay, so then it becomes more like a heart planet in many ways, which would be kind of cool. And it would make a lot of sense, because then we would very much look at this time period, and we're probably gonna laugh at it a lot. Oh, people were so identified with their thoughts and made a big deal out of it. Yeah, so that is what I want to talk a little bit about today. Just find it interesting. I mean, even if you observe life, if you observe yourself, if you observe stuff in your surroundings, you can clearly see it grows. It push forward. It life has the source of creation, and it sort of creates stuff. It's kind of fascinating how it works. So, and yeah, the next 10-15 years are gonna be so interesting, because it really seems like people do have a choice of do they want to where do they want to invest their time, energy, and resources into. Where are their eyes paying attention to? What are they paying attention to? Are they looking at new technology? Are they looking at sort of global events? Or are they doing the same thing sort of as they used their parents did? And if they are, it's up to questioning, are we really like going forward, or are we sort of going backward? Or because it's like, it may not even be backward, but it may just be like, okay, it's very stagnant, and if it's stagnant, then it's like you're not really moving forward. And then it's like, is that really how it should be? Or shouldn't each generation always sort of try to enhance themselves and sort of try to move to sort of the next phase? So yeah, the next 10-15 years are gonna be super interesting time period. Yeah, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. Have a great day, DTube and the Steam blockchain. Bye bye.